everybody, and welcome to my channel. I hope everybody's having a great start to their week, and I'm hoping everybody is enjoying this cooler weather. But nevertheless, what I would like to discuss today is Biden and how it will impact geopolitical balance around the globe, especially with power players like Russia, EU, Middle East, Turkey, what will happen, and I would love to hear everybody's opinions at the end of my video, of course, and please subscribe to my channel as well. So as far as Biden, last week US held presidential election and Joe Biden has been elected, and Kamala Harris made history as the first woman of color and vice president of the United States. Of course, for Russia, Biden is not a preferred pick, but nevertheless, Russia already, I'm sure, budgeted in that scenario and also worked on it. That is why Russia unleashed immediately a very aggressive campaign pertaining the election having being illegitimate, the votes are being rigged, even taking billboards in Russia, and nothing more would make Russia happy as far as the Kremlin and Putin is concerned if the US to be weakened and have a civil war. That is why Russian trolls and Russian media has been extra busy for the past week working on making such claims and empowering more far-right groups. Of course, Federal Bureau of Investigation is doing a fine job, and they're monitoring who's involved in such activities and any far-right or extremism or terrorist type of sentiments or domestic terrorism. They're really watching that very specifically. So this is one part of it. And of course for Russia, that's obviously, like I said, Russia will continue stoking such sentiment. For European Union, Biden is a very good choice of a US president because since Trump came to power, he changed the whole dynamic. He tried to force the EU to pay more. The trade agreements that Biden worked under Obama with European Union, Trump immediately negated on that and changed that rhetoric. And also the problem is the weaker the EU, the more it gives power to Russia. And Kremlin would love nothing more to have more peace of Eastern and possibly even parts of Western Europe if possible. That is why Putin is such a fan of Ribbentrop-Molotov Act. That's why as a lot of information has been released about it. There also been a census that was done, and people in Russia starting to like Stalin even more. He has approval ratings as far as from historic figure, which is pretty horrible because Stalin caused repressions. There's a lot of bad, horrible murders that happened under Stalin. So this is part of that. So if EU is weakened, obviously gives Russia carte blanche. So Biden will not ever allow that. As far as Turkey is concerned, the Turkey itself is actually in geopolitical trap by Erdogan. Their economy continues to slide. Their opposition is already disgruntled. So Biden will force Erdogan to leave Syria and abandon his Libya and abandon his Ottoman Empire dreams. Even though Erdogan cannot be trusted, he will have to comply and abide, because the reason being behind it, if he doesn't, US will continue to stoke opposition, and opposition is already unhappy with his actions in Syria. They're also unhappy with the economy taking downward spiral, and also didn't help with coronavirus. The tourism has been killed, and a lot of Turkish economy relied on such tourist activities. So Biden will also force Turkey to have an alliance with Russia, obviously they will force to have an alliance against Russia, because of the fact that Russia obviously has never been a friend to the US. Nagorno-Karabakh region, Biden will have further interest into that, because clearly that's something that Erdogan has part of hold in Azerbaijan, obviously not full hold, but nevertheless he has some interest in there, and obviously Russia will highly likely retaliate in their ways and continue their sentiment and everything like that. Also, Turkey will have no choice but to give up their other power plays involved in other regions, and including certain positioning of Middle East, and even their desire to get into further in South Ossetia and other regions, even though there's a Georgia control there, but nevertheless, Turkey has even been seen wanting to go there as well. As far as Ukraine is concerned, it's more than likely that Biden will support Ukraine, but not as much as it was done and he did under Obama, because of the scenarios that occurred previously, even though it was unfounded, and also the fact that Ukraine continues to be a black hole. But nevertheless, Ukraine location is very important because it is a buffer between NATO and Russian borders. So Ukraine will get their support. However, more than likely, Volodymyr Zelensky, who is the current president of Ukraine, will either get impeached or he'll voluntarily retire, or he'll claim that he prefers being an actor and wants to get back to that than politics. His ratings have been sliding. He has not been a positive change for Ukraine at all. Poroshenko's crew could possibly be resurrected to a certain level, again because they were clearly willing to work with Zest at the time. So that sentiment could possibly come back, and that could possibly continue. happening. Baltics, of course, always supported the US. They always have anti-Russian sentiment. But there was a very interesting surprise that occurred with Estonia. Estonian interior and finance ministers made claims on Russian and Estonian radio, claiming that the US election, as far as Biden is concerned, was illegitimate. He's a legitimate president, and the election was rigged, and there's no longer democracy or US upholding constitution with this election. This is very surprising coming from Estonia, even though the president of Estonia condemned such statements immediately, but it sounds odd, like there's some kind of pro-Russian sentiment within the Estonian government happening, and that's not a good thing for NATO because Baltic states are very important, and this is a little bit possibly of a concern, and possibly I would love to know what everybody thinks of those statements and why such statements were made, because Estonia was never perceived as pro-Russian. So this is a little bit of a big surprise right there. Also, as far as the Middle East is concerned and geopolitics are concerned, Middle East has always been volatile. There's always going to be conflict between Shiites and Sunnis, and even though Biden will have certain power plays, I don't think US will enter another war this time, especially not in the Middle East. That's clearly not the agenda, because the economy has to heal with coronavirus and a lot of other factors, and there's a lot of issues that have to be fixed within US, of course. Canada is obviously happy, because for Canada, having good relations with US was always important. It's always been a neighborly nation, so this is always a bonus. Another thing is too, US will start dictating rules around the world again, because under Trump, a lot of geopolitical scenarios, Russia was able to get ahead, Turkey was able to get ahead, weakening the EU allowed Russia to have further power plays. Of course, there's also Russia and Navalny story. As everybody knows, Navalny was poisoned in August. Navalny immediately congratulated Biden. Navalny's channel has been peddling a story that Putin is going to be leaving office in January because he's ill with Parkinson's. But nevertheless, those facts are unfounded, and I'll give you even the words I'll go with what Navalny Live did. They did a video a while back claiming that Putin has at least 5 different doubles and lookalikes that, impersonate him in different functions. So if you use their scenario and verbatim, that means Putin will just use one of his lookalikes to attend functions if he does have Parkinson's, because he's not leaving office, and the reason behind it, he would have not done the constitutional amendments which allow him to stay in power to 2036 if he was severely ill and was about to leave office. That did not make sense. Yes, there's certain amendments, but not those ones. So he's to stay in this capacity. And I think the only reason Navalny's channel is doing that, and Navalny is doing that because he wants U.S. funding, because he would be a funded opposition, and he needs funding since right now his very expensive $1 million apartment right now under arrest due to the court judgments with Putin's cook, but that's another story within a story. And additionally, his kids attend very expensive schools in US that he needs money. So him making such statements and everything like that, he just wants more funding because he's trying to claim around the world that he's an opposition leader and there'll be change coming to Russian government. That's not happening. He'll continue to be a useful blogger and a social media fighter against Putin's regime, but overall, he is not important. There's nothing that he can do to change trajectory of Russia. He's not a horse to bet on as far as any huge political changes to occur or anything of the above. So clearly that's not even it. This is just another story, even though old Western media picked up the story and has been all over the news, including major outlets like Newsweek pertaining to Putin having Parkinson's and all that. But like I said, that was specifically done by Navalny, and that story has been circulating. It's a convenience factor, but nevertheless, I don't think that's true at all. And like I said, given the logical steps, and Kremlin has never been illogical and very methodical when it comes to controlling Russia and controlling power. For China also, Biden is much better, because under Trump they had a lot of issues, but I honestly believe that everybody should stop doing business with China, because clearly what happened with coronavirus, their stance on environment and their stealing of classified technologies, any type of IPs, China has been not punished enough. They kept getting slaps on the wrist when in reality they should have been sanctioned a long time ago, and a lot more further, not just for coronavirus, but everything that China has been doing to destabilize the West and how they gained their traction and been empowered, and their economy should never be empowered against the West. They should have never, yuan should have never even been allowed to be the alternative reserve currency. There's a lot of factors should have never happened. But nevertheless, I would love to hear everybody's opinions. What does everybody think? Please click like, please subscribe to my channel. Would love to know what you think about Russia, geopolitics, Turkey, Middle East, anything as far as this scenario is concerned going forward. Thank you for watching, and I hope everybody has a great rest of their day. Thanks again.